I'm Goku4071, and I'm here
Yeah,
with,
BKcritic.
and we are going to be talking about upcoming superhero movies. We're just going to be, me and BKcritic are just going to be discussing what we like about them and what we don't like about them, and which ones we're looking forward to. And if we have time, we'll probably talk about ones that we do want to see. So let's get on. We're going to start talking about Green Lantern. So, what are you looking forward to Green Lantern?
Um, I guess the biggest thing about Green Lantern that I was really excited about is the fact that, for the last 20 years, we've been having, Batman, Superman, and then other, miscellaneous movies that never do well. And then we have Green Lantern, and it actually has, potential to do well. Because, people are actually involved in Green Lantern now. Jeff Johns is jumping on the Green Lantern train. And I don't know, I just kind of excited about it.
Well, the thing that really astonishes me is that Captain Logan talked about this recently. Is when this modern comic book thing started, it actually started with Blade for some reason. Marvel started with almost a C character, and it's kind of funny that Marvel started to do all of their characters. Basically, they did so many different characters, and then DC decided, well, we'll do Batman, Superman, because that's all we have. And I kind of find that funny because they have so many rich and good characters other than Batman, Superman, probably characters that would translate better into film, like The Flash, I think, would translate better than some of those characters, but for some reason they refuse to make them into superheroes. And they have a lot of B characters that would translate great into film, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about DC is that people usually miss is that DC is, though it's not as scientifically based as Marvel, there's a lot of science in it that you could really kind of translate. Like Barry Allen's a scientist, the Atom is a scientist, Batman uses science. Green Lantern is a science fiction character, stuff like that.
Yeah, do you think we're gonna get in the Green Lantern movie? Do you think they're gonna get like a lot of the? Actually, the one thing I want to ask you is, what Green Lanterns do you think are gonna be in there? Because my favorite Green Lantern of all time is Chip. Even though I've never read him, I've seen little bits of him, and I like Swirl, so I just decided, well, my favorite Green Lantern is gonna be Chip. So
Yeah.
do you think we're gonna get any of the side Green Lanterns like him, or do you think we're just gonna get the main couple ones?
I mean, I'd love it if, Chip was in it, because Chip would be a really, fun comic relief, because, he always just pops up. But the thing is, I really, because they said that this movie's going to be mostly based on Earth, and that really scares me, because there's, 5 million Green Lanterns that you could do in space, but I'm afraid that they're only going to have, Hal Jordan, maybe, maybe another human Green Lantern, and maybe Sinestro, and that's it. I'm afraid of that.
Kilowog has already been confirmed. We know he's going to probably be a bigger part in this movie, so... But
yeah, cool.
Yeah, that's Kilowog. Of course you got to have Kilowog. He's the biggest of
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the biggest of the side ones. I'm actually, yeah, but I'm happy they're doing doing Hal Jordan because he is the main Green Lantern, even though he was not the first Green Lantern. He's the one everybody knows.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a smart business move, You're not going to do Alan Scott because people are going to be like, wait a second, this is not the Green Lantern I know about. And then,
I would love them to make an Alan Scott movie because I would love them to do something different, but... Yeah. But I'm also happy they're doing a trilogy.
Yeah, but, I mean, I really hope that they don't just stick with Hal Jordan. I mean, Hal Jordan's a fun character, and you could pull out many movies with him. But if you're going to do a Green Lantern trilogy, I think you should maybe this movie introduce Hal Jordan and make him a side character in the next one and make it another Green Lantern.
Yeah, I know actually one person was actually talking to me about how Green Lantern is one of these rare film series where you can actually have like a three-part movie. And you can actually have different main characters in each movie and still have it interconnected.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you could kind of do it with Flash, but it's going to be completely different with each one because it's different Flashes.
Yeah.
But Green Lantern's totally different stories, and you could just pull out movies.
What would have actually been very interesting, which would have been a very gutsy move, is to not do Alan Scott, but actually do a movie based on Sinestro and have Sinestro basically have it before he decided to be evil and kind of build the story about how Sinestro was this legendary Green Lantern, and then make the second one about how Hal Jordan is being trained by him.
Yeah, have you read Secret Origins before, or?
No, unfortunately, I'm probably I've not read a lot. I'm a very slow reader, even when it comes to comics. It takes me like 20 minutes to read a chapter, so I don't read that many comics. I do read them occasionally, but I usually read certain ones. Like I've read most of Secret Invasion, just not finished getting around to it because I lost money and I didn't have all the issues, so I stopped to read it. I have all the issues now, but I don't read that much, but I do know a lot about it, but I don't know what secret, or what's the book called again?
Secret Origin. It's basically the reworkings of it, and I thought it was like one of the best origin stories ever, just because the thing they do is that Sinestro is never the villain in the book. They really just kind of foreshadow him being the villain. But it's not like the Sinestro that you're just like, oh, man, he's going to turn into a villain soon. It's almost like you like Sinestro. They make you like Sinestro, and then the very next arc, in modern time, you see how evil he is, and you're like, oh, man, I like that character. That was good.
Yeah. Are you happy with who's playing Green Lantern?
I mean, I've had to talk about this. I mean, Ryan Reynolds, he's a good actor. I don't know if he's perfect for Green Lantern. I could have thought of a bunch of other people who would have been better. But, I mean, I've seen him in the costume, and I haven't seen trailers for it. Maybe I'll see it at Comic-Con or something like that. But so far, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah. The only problem I have is the same one. Yet again, I have to bring up Captain Logan again. The same problem Captain Logan has, and I don't know if you've heard this problem that he has, is that there's so many good actors out there, and they're casting a guy for 2 big comic book roles.
Yeah, that's true, because they had to put Deadpool on hold to make Green Lantern, and people are angry on both sides.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily upset me when they do stuff like this. It just kind of in a way, it kind of surprises me that they do this, because, like, I don't know if you do a lot of movie videos, and I won't mention it now, but we do a lot of pitch videos. Whenever I do a pitch video, I never mention actors for a very good reason. It's because I don't want them to put the actors I know of. I want them to put actors I don't know of, because some of the best actors out there are people who just haven't made their name huge yet, but they're not bad actors.
Yeah, like Christopher Reeves. I mean, he was almost new when he walked into Superman, and now people are drawing Christopher Reeve's face in comic books.
Yeah, even, that's why I love TV shows, because, like, Tom Welling had been in stuff, but this was his big role, because the only thing I know that he was in before this was he was in a couple of episodes of Judging Amy, which he played, like, this character who basically slept with Amy, so that's all he did in the show. So, and it's kind of funny. He goes from being a guy, like an early 20s guy, to being a 14-year-old kid in the next show he was in. That's television for you.
Yeah. No, I think that I always kind of knew that Tom Welling was kind of old for Superman, but I just kind of went with it because, Superman's always going to be built a lot bigger and stronger than the normal kid his age, so.
Well, I think they kind of went more with, what they wanted to do was they could have cast somebody who was the right age, but then they have the aging problem. They don't know how people are going to age, and that's, and we'll get to this when I get to Spider-Man, but that's the biggest problem I have with Spider-Man, is the aging problem is you really have to kind of, when you cast people for younger roles, and you know you're going to have them for a while, you're going to have to cast older. Have you ever seen the show Lost?
I've seen bits and pieces of it.
Okay, they had the, if you don't mind, they had this character, who was this kid, and he was this very significant role. And basically, the writers wrote the character out because he was a kid and he was growing way too fast, and the show never actually timed. The show was like 3 months in the third year, so they had to completely write his character out, and his character never did anything significantly. Okay, getting back to Green Lantern and DC as a whole, do you think DC will ever have connected universe of films?
I mean, if Green Lantern does well, they're gonna thrive. They're gonna milk the cow for all it's got. So I really hope that if Thor and Captain America and Avengers does well, DC sees that connected universe does well and starts to write their heroes together. Because though I like the Avengers, I think that just having the idea of a guy with a ring who was a cop, and then having the Flash, and then having Batman and Superman all on one team is really just an interesting idea.
Yeah, but my only problem with a JLA movie, and this is my only problem with it, is that you run into the huge problem of that you have time. And with the Avengers movie, and we'll talk about this more later, but with the Avengers movie, I feel that they're actually going to give side characters screen time. I don't feel that I don't feel that Green Lantern, Flash, Martian Manhunter, Wonder Woman, maybe Wonder Woman, but I don't feel these other characters are going to get any screen time. It's going to be about Batman and Superman and maybe Wonder Woman.
Yeah, that's true, because Blows and Stuff Up Dude and Dookaloops on their news show, they brought up a really interesting point. That the fact that maybe it would be smart to do the JLA, if you don't know, the JLA in the early Silver Age did not have Batman and Superman. Like, they were not in the picture. They were like, maybe, we'll call you when we need you, and it was mostly the 5 core members of Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter, and this little kid who was not important.
I didn't know that. I actually, I kind of thought that was true, but with only Batman. I never knew that was also the case with Superman, because for a while I had heard, and for the most part, I think that Batman actually, in some continuities, he never actually joined the JLA. He's kind of more of their buddy that basically when they get head over heels, they know who to call.
Yeah, I think that would be the smartest idea, because people, if the Green Lantern movie does well, obviously they're going to try to do the Flash movie next. I think that it would be the smartest idea, like they're doing with the Avengers, to kind of develop each character so you can see how they work together. But if Batman and Superman, who've had the most development because they have the most movies, just get thrown in there, it's just going to, be, let's buy Batman toys, let's make Superman toys, and, let's give Ryan Reynolds 5 minutes of time and then kick him off the screen and stuff.
Yeah, well, in the defense, Superman didn't really have much development in his films. I mean, he had 4 films, but if you call that development, I mean, the first 2 films had development, but they kind of, their biggest problem with Superman is, and I was talking to my friend and he was kind of disagreeing, but the biggest problem with Superman films as a whole is that Superman has good villains. They just don't know that.
Yes, yeah, it always goes for Lex Luthor and Kryptonite. We have Brainiac. We could use him. We have Zod. Well, they have Zod, but still. It just kind of annoys me when they have to make up villains. They made Ultraman or something like that in the 4th one, and I'm like, but you could have used, Bizarro or somebody like that.
Well, it was Bizarro, but I think they didn't want to go with for some reason I didn't think they wanted to use actual Bizarro. But the thing about it is Lex Luthor can still be a villain, and this is what they don't understand. Lex Luthor, I think, works best when he's the mastermind, when he's the guy behind the desk orchestrating this great plan. I think that's when he works best as a character.
Yeah. I never was a huge fan of Lex Luthor putting on this armor and fighting Superman.
I'm completely with you. I also don't like him with armor. I like him as the businessman type archetype,